Welcome everyone to the Traction Real Estate Investors Association special event with Lee Phillips, an attorney and a counsel of the United States Supreme Court. So not
Hey,
just
don't hold that attorney part against me, okay?
I'm trying not to. Hopefully people will go, well, it's not all bad. And I think they'll find out soon that you have a good sense of human personality. And that's good. People always expect lawyers to be super duper dry. I would just call you semi-dry, so it's good.
Well, lawyers don't have a personality as far as we know.
Well, we got to see about that. So, look, gang, the reason we want to have Lee is throughout the year, we get non-stop questions from people about entities, about asset protection, about taxes, about strategies. How do you do this? How do you do that? How do you control for this? How do you control for that? And it's a mystery because there are some, I'll use the word loosely, there's some gifts the government has given us. But of course, the typical government gifts, they got these massive strings attached, and navigating all that, half the time you feel like you need a law degree to do it, which is why it works out perfect that Lee Phillips has that law degree and is a real estate investor and knows how to work all those different strings and make sure that you're compliant and being safe at the same time you're getting the massive benefit of what happens. So that's why we've brought Lee in today to talk specifically about how to make money using the law and be able to protect yourself using the law. Make sure that we can take all this stuff that's been done onto us and use it in our favor as if it was done for us. So we like that a lot better. So welcome, Lee.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate being with everybody. As we go along, I'd welcome you to break in if you want to ask a question, whatever. I want this to be as much like a live event as possible. I told Tom that I really love the live events because I go beat people on. No, I'm fine. But if we can have some fun this evening, that'd be great. What we're going to do for the next probably hour, 45 minutes is I'm going to give you the opportunity to use the tools that rich people use to do the asset protection, the tax planning, the estate planning. I mean, it all melts together after a minute. Before we get started, I want to take a little inventory with you for 2 seconds. How many of you have a bank account? You can raise your hand. Didn't have any money in it, okay? Y'all have bank account. Y'all own a home, right? Most of your homeowners. Who owns a little business? And that could be real estate. You guys listen up. We're going to be talking to you this evening. How many of you'd like to get ahead financially a whole lot faster? Let me ask that question. All hands go up. Understand that. Need to ask one more question, though. How many of you have honestly thought about the possibility that your house, your bank account, your car, your little business, that these things could be taken away from you? Let me see your hands if that's something you've thought about. In today's society, that's something you need to think about. And as a specialized attorney, I'm going to show you this evening, step by step, how to protect yourselves, how to protect your property, and how to get ahead financially a whole lot faster. But if I'm going to help you, you've got to do 4 or 5 things for yourselves today. First of all, you've got to protect yourselves against the disasters, the tragedies that threaten your family's financial security. I'm going to give you the tools. You can do it, no problem, okay? Secondly, the major reason most of you aren't getting ahead financially quite as fast as you want to is you're probably paying too much for it in income taxes. I mean, did you feel like you paid too much in income tax on the last go around? No. Look, you need to learn how the tools to use the tools I give you. You need to learn how to use the law. You can make an extra 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 20 grand a year. No problem. The third thing you each need to do is you need to plan right now. So a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of property isn't lost at the death of a family member. Now that death, it might be yours, mom's, dad's, it doesn't matter who dies. Unless the family's done their homework in advance, a lot of time, money, property is going to be lost. You don't want to do that. You want to go right out and around that problem, don't you? You can, you go out and around it, no problem. The fourth thing you each need to do is you need to learn how to use the law to make money. I'm going to show you how to reposition yourself in the law so that you can go out and you can make more money you never thought possible. It's very subtle what we're going to talk about. But everybody who's successful today understands that they need to do something offensively to use the law, not only to protect themselves, but to get ahead financially. We're going to get started and we're going to do a little what I call some CYA work. Now, somebody tell me, what does CYA stand for?
Cover your ass.
Cover your ass. Okay, thank you. Look, if you're out here chasing your dreams under this windmill and your tail isn't covered, your tail's going to get shot off. But we don't whip out our 45s and blow each other away today. We whip out our lawyers and we sue each other to death. So you're going to have to learn to defend yourselves against that kind of an attack. Now, this kind of armor, it won't do you any good. Lawyers, they fight their battles with paper. You're going to have to learn to defend yourselves with paper. But y'all remember the old saying, the pen is mightier than the sword? It's true. It's absolutely true. You write it down the way I show you how to write it down, tools I give you, you protect yourselves, you protect your property, no problem. But you do have to write it down. You write it down or forget it. All bets are off. You're going to have to change the way you think a little bit. 20, 30 years ago, you had a nice accident on your hometown freeway. Your chance of being sued, 30, 40%. Today, you have a nice accident out on your hometown freeway. What's your chances of being sued? No, it's not 100%. It is about 85, though. We're changing. We're changing the way we deal with each other. The sheer fact of the matter is we're graduating so many lawyers today that in order to eat, these guys got to sue in the walks. So I think you're walking around today. That means you're a target. You get sued, you can lose everything you own. That's a critical word. You watch for that word as we go along. You all know you might get sued for something you do today, tomorrow, or the next day. But what you may not understand is things you did 20 years ago. They didn't have any legal significance back then, but they now have a huge legal significance. Architects, engineers, accountants, doctors, these kind of guys have worried about something called deferred liability for a long time. The sad part is the general public, well, you guys don't even know what you have to worry about, let alone what you have to do to protect yourselves, protect your property. Let me identify the first thing. What are the disasters, the tragedies that take away your family's financial security? I mean, we've got death. You didn't think of that. We've got lawsuits. You thought of that one. Illness. I mean, it goes on and on and on. The legal system is the most powerful system in the world. You get sued, you're going to spend every dime you've got defending the lawsuit. Either that or you lose. That's the way the system's set up. Biggest mistake you're going to make today, in fact, biggest mistake you're going to make for your financial careers is to sit here this evening and say, Phillips, he's not talking to me. I don't have enough to worry about yet. If that's your attitude, I'll guarantee you'll never be wealthy. You can't build a house from the roof down. What do you got to have first? A foundation. You can't build a financial fortune from the roof down either. The question is, why don't you already have this legal structure, this foundation I'm going to talk about? You didn't know about it. I'll buy that. That's not going to be an excuse here in a while, though. And it costs a lot of money. Lawyers are expensive these days. And, you know, it's just, they're outrageous. I'm going to show you how to use the most powerful system in the world so that you can just plain sleep better at night, so you can protect your assets, so that you can ensure your family's financial security, and you can go out and you can make more money. Like I said, it's very subtle, but you can use the law to make money. I'm Lee. Tom introduced me some. I'm also not only a U.S. Supreme Court counsel, I'm a federal tax court attorney. I argue cases in the federal tax courts and a court of claims. You've never heard of that one. And like he said, I'm a real estate investor. So I understand exactly what you're going through. Most lawyers, most accountants, they're not real estate investors. They don't understand what you're going through. I understand. I'm here for a couple of reasons today. One of the reasons is a number of years ago, one of the big time real estate developer investor guys in the United States, a lot of you actually know his name. He came in, he sat across the desk in my law office, and he said, Lee, I'd like to protect myself so that if I get sued, I don't lose everything I own. If I show you how many of you'd like to protect yourself so that if you got sued, you don't lose it all? That's what we're doing. I use these same tools that I have for you tonight. I built this guy a foundation, then I put a bunch of bells and whistles on top of it. This was about 35 years ago. I charged the guy a little over $20,000. Today in the big glass buildings downtown, $20,000 would be a good price for this basic foundation, this structure. Anyway, I did all the work for the guy. He paid him about $20,000. He went away happy. 3 or 4 months later, the guy shows up sitting across the desk in my law office again. And I'm going, man, what does this guy want? He says, Lee, I've been thinking about this. You talk about this legal structure, this foundation. People don't have this legal structure. Even if they've got their corporation or they've got their trust or whatever it is, they don't know how to use it. You spend the tens of thousands of dollars. You go down, you get the big ream of paper at the lawyer's office. It doesn't do you any good. It doesn't protect you when you get sued. You don't make any more money. Lee, could you teach people how to actually set up these legal structures, these legal tools for themselves, and then teach them how to use them to make more money and protect assets? And I said, yeah, I can do that. So I started to speak and I started to write. But I'm here for another reason. Something else drives me. You see, I understand you. I understand each one of you. I understand when you have a little business. I understand when it goes well. In fact, I understand when it fails. I understand when the IRS seizes your assets, somebody's sick, somebody dies, you get sued. There isn't anything here tonight that we're going to talk about that I personally haven't been through. And because I've been through it, I can lead you out and around the problem a whole lot better than a lawyer who's never been there. You see, I'm not supposed to be a tax type, asset protection type lawyer. I never dreamed I'd be a counselor to the United States Supreme Court. I'm supposed to be a patent attorney. Oh, I have a bachelor's degree in geology and physics. I have a master's degree in analytical nuclear chemistry, and I have a doctorate in law. I went out of law school, one of the highest paid lawyers. I went out and I worked for 3 weeks in the big time patent firm. And at the end of 3 weeks, 10 years of education was gone. Well, I live in a nice area of the city, live up on a little hill. My block and the block next to us live 38 MDs. So they call this little hill Pill Hill, right? One Sunday, I figure I'm having chest pains. So my wife, Christy, she gets on the phone and she calls up Mary. Now, Mary and Leland, they live 4 or 5 houses down the hill. Leland happens to be the local cardiologist. So my wife gets a hold of Mary and says, hey, Mary, Lee's having chest pains. Could Leland look at him? And Mary says, sure, send him on down. So I went down to Leland's house that night and he looked at me there in the home. And on the way out down the big entry hall, I remember he made a real strange statement. He says, you know, Lee, anytime somebody's seriously ill, they can go in the hospital, they can recover their health, they can live a normal life. They're extremely blessed. And I thought, yeah, Leland, I mean, you're the cardiologist. You deal with people who die all the time, understand. And then he said, oh, by the way, Lee, I'd like you to check yourself in the hospital tomorrow. I'm going to have a bed ready for you. I want to run a test. So the next day, I'm strapped onto the x-ray machine. Christy, she's up in the control room behind the glass panel with all the radiologists. 3 of them live on our block, our street, and they're good friends. And I noticed they take Christy out. Then one of my good friends, radiologist Gary, he comes and he stands alongside the x-ray table and he says, well, Lee, you're having chest pains. And I thought, well, good, then I'm not a hypochondriac, huh? He says, Lee, you've got a tumor. It's a little over 8 inches in diameter. It's around your kidney, your left kidney. It's crowded up against your heart. Your heart's having a hard time. I said, well, Gary, can you take it out? And my friend Gary stood there alongside the x-ray table and he says, no, Lee, we've done a CT scan on your entire body now. Lee, you have very advanced cancer. Your cancer now involves all the organs in your body. I said, Gary, what does that mean? And my friend Gary stood there and he says, Lee, we've talked about it. We expect you'll live another 2 to 3 weeks. And that ruins your day. I spent the next 5 months in an isolation intensive care unit at a university hospital. I didn't work for 3 years after that. Do you want to ask me what an illness does to a small or no financial fortune? I mean, I know exactly how it works. We're not talking I was just sick. We're talking this is a major battle. Average cancer patient, 3 treating doctors. I had 53 treating doctors. I had over 250 doctors that billed us. I know that over 1,000 doctors participated in my treatment. We're flying drugs from the East Coast to the West Coast in the middle of the night on chartered airplanes. I mean, full life support, the whole 9 yards. I don't even remember most of it. I mean, I'm not exactly a fat character, am I? See? And by the way, I am wearing pants under the desk on the Zoom, okay? I mean, I don't even remember most of it. As I stand today, I weigh 85 pounds more than when I left the hospital. I'm literally twice the man I used to be. I don't even remember. I do remember losing my hair. I remember I woke up in the middle of the night, was choking and spitting his hair, and it was all over the pillow. And I got the bed tray and I swung across the bed, and there was a little cosmetic drawer in it. I pulled the little drawer out, and then I just literally took all my hair off and put it in the little drawer. And for the next few months, people would come into the hospital and they'd say, "Oh, Lee, you've lost your hair." And I'd say, "No, I haven't. It's right here in the drawer." Look, I took an inventory with you when we started. I wasn't asking stupid questions. You all said, let me fix my computer here. You've got your bank account. You've got your piece of real estate, your house, your little business. You make a mistake in operating your little business, they're going to take it away from you. You make a mistake in buying a piece of real estate, they're going to take the piece of real estate away from you. And if they don't get satisfaction here with the piece of real estate, can they come and get your house too? Yes or no? Yeah, basically, one mistake is all you're entitled to. And then it goes wham, 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 all the way around the circle and wipes you out. Y'all remember Rich Kid in your high school class? Rich Kid in every one of your high school classes. Kid went out of high school and he showed up 3 or 4 years later operating dad's big business. And you're going, man, how can he do that? I'm smarter than he is. As a matter of fact, you probably are smarter than he is. The catch is he's born into a family that already has this legal structure, this foundation. Kid makes a mistake, falls back down onto the structure. It doesn't go wham, 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 all the way and wipe them out. Oh, it hurts. Hurts right here in this corner. But this corner is legally protected from this corner, it's shielded from this corner. Everything isn't all held together like this on the screen. This is how you all own your property. Look, if you're going to understand how to protect yourselves, how to protect your property, there are 5 or 6 points of the law that we need to go through. Should we do it? First question is, what's your real threat? And you don't even know what your real threats are. You want to ask me what one of them is? 56% of all bankruptcies in the United States are the result of somebody in the family getting sick. Did you think of that as a threat? Are you going to lose your pieces of real estate because somebody in the family gets sick? And the answer for most of you is yeah. Christy got even with me. That's Christy. This is my wife, Christy. Come on, right there. That's Christy. She actually became a lawyer. She became a counselor to the United States Supreme Court also. Christy got sick. That's Christy. She's on a full ventilator. She's totally paralyzed. She's looking at a computer, an eye gaze computer. It literally looks at the pupils of her eyes and controls the wheelchair. She can surf the internet. She can answer the phone. She cannot speak. She has a disease called ALS, and that's not a good one, guys. That's a bad one. Christy died a little over 5 years ago. But I had practiced what I preach for 35 years. I lost everything when I was sick. And I said, this is never going to happen to me again. When Christy got sick and went down, my business was okay. my retirement okay, all of my real estate holdings okay, everything was okay. And that really gives you peace of mind to know that if a family member goes down like that, you'll be okay. It'll be all right. You know, it's hard to lose Christy. We were married 46 years. To put that in perspective. If I say asset protection, your knee-jerk reaction is lawsuit. Well, I just told you about the illness. What's your major asset protection threat? A lawsuit is a tiny little bit of your asset protection threat. What's your biggest asset protection threat? Taxes, guys. You're losing 20, 30% of everything that comes in the front door. Isn't that an asset loss? And the problem is you don't understand taxes. You've got to control the taxes. And as we go along, I want you to think, has my accountant told me what Phillips is telling me? And the answer is going to be no. They don't tell you these things. They don't explain it to you. And I'm serious about taxes in my office. Over the years, I've come to realize exactly what taxes are. I have a full tax division. It's run by Ben. Ben is a former IRS special auditor, special agent. He has a master's in taxation. He's an enrolled agent. And by the way, guys, you do not want an accountant to do your taxes. You want an enrolled agent. An accountant takes a 3-day test. Less than 2 hours of that 3-day test is on taxes. An enrolled agent takes a 3-day test, same place the accountant takes their test, except all 3 days are on taxes. That's the difference between an accountant and an enrolled agent. And yes, Ben is a real estate investor. He has dozens and dozens of properties. The problem is you get taxed to death. They don't even call it taxes anymore. They just call it fees. I actually rented a car in Tampa, and they must have wanted it in Orlando. I rented it for a week. This is before COVID, okay? The rental charge was $1 a day. And when I got to Tampa, or Orlando, that's 7 days. That's $7, right? No, it was $82 for the bill. Where's the rest of the $82? It's in taxes and fees. That's what we talk about. Look, let me show you. We did not have a tax until 1913. Can you see my cursor there? 1913. Yes. Section 16, Article 16 of the Constitution was passed. Gave the government the power to tax us. They couldn't do it before then. And the president and Congress and everybody swore on a stack of Bibles 60 feet high that the tax would never go above 8.5%. Do you want to know something about politicians in 1913? They lied just as good as they do today. Within a few years, it had gone up to 75%. It came back down in the 1919. In the 20s, it was 25% tax rate. What happened to the economy in the 20s? What they call the 20s? The roaring 20s. This is Herbert Hoover right there. The economy was sputtering, and he raised the tax from 25% all the way up to 79%. That put the economy into a tailspin. It died. That's the Great Depression. I actually remember a clip as a young man. I remember a clip. I was a young man. I remember a clip of Ronald Reagan. I liked his movies. He's standing there and he says, I will never make another movie. Why? He says, I don't make any money. Well, here's the problem. In the 1950s, 60s, you could literally make $1 million and pay $920,000 of it out in tax. That's called a tax, right, guys? This is Reagan as president. He dropped it from 70% down to 28%. And the economy went nuts. They said he was an idiot. They said he couldn't do it. He brought in more money than anybody else had ever brought in. This is Clinton. This is Bushy. This is Obama. And that's Trumpy. The Trump tax laws are going to sunset on December 31st, 2025. There's an article today which says that the average family in the United States will pay $3,400 more when his tax cuts sunset. Don't tell me that they're only going to tax people over $400,000. That ain't going to work, guys. Now, let's take $1 and double it 20 times. $1, $2, $2, 4, 4, 8, 8, 16, 32, 64. You got it? You end up with a grand total of $1,048,000 and change. Not bad, huh, guys? But wait, there's no tax on that sequence, is there? Let's tax it at 40%. Federal and state, some of you could be in a 40%. Okay, so I have $1, I double it to 2, but I've got $1 in gain, so I have to tax it at 40%. So I don't have $2. I have to take the dollar, I take 40%, 40 cents off, so I only end up with $1.60, not 2. I double $1.60, $3.20, but I got to tax the extra $1.60, so I end up with $2.56. You understand what we're doing? Everybody understand? So over here, I have $1,048,000 and change. Over here, I've lost 40% of $1 million. That's $400,000. Is that significant to you? Yes or no? That's a big deal to me. I don't know about you. So I've got 600 over here and $1,048,000 over here, right?
Yes,
Yes. Who said yes?
Ivan.
Ivan. Where's Ivan? Can't see him. There he is. So I got 600 over here. Do I really have 600, Ivan?
No,
What?
is that?
I took 40% of $1 million, so I got about 600 over here.
Yes,
Okay. Will somebody give me 400 over here? How many of you think I only have 400 over here? Come on. 600 going once, 600 going twice. Give me 400, 400 over here. Diana, you think 400?
No,
No. What do you mean no?
too high.
Too high. Do I have 200 over here?
That's closer.
200 going once. Do I have 100? Here, do I hear 100? 100 over here. 200 going once to Miss Wild. 200 going twice. Come on, give me 100 over here. Come on, Tom, give me 100.
Nope.
You idiots, 100. Okay, somebody, 100 going once. Somebody give me 50,000 over here. So I've got $1,048,000 over here, 50,000 over here. Come on, somebody give me 50,000.
More times.
What?
Nope.
It's this.
No. What do you mean no?
Yeah, there you go.
Oof.
So I got $1,048,000 over here with no tax. I've got 12,089 over here with the tax. What you don't, what's the eighth wonder of the world? Somebody give me the eighth wonder of the world.
Compounding.
Compound interest, absolutely. What you don't understand is literally taxes are compound interest in reverse. They are devastating. If I can save you 20% on your taxes, that's not $200 out of 1,000. That's millions of dollars over your lifetime. It's huge. So my goal is to cut your taxes by 20%. You can't do anything about it. You have to use your little company and your real estate. But your accountant's never brought you in, put his arm around you and said, you know, we need to teach you how to use your little company as a tax shelter. They've never done that, have they? Well, let's look at it. You've got to control your AGI, your adjusted gross income.
Yep.
Got understand what it is. You can't do it. Your company can do it. If you don't have a company, we'll figure out how to get you a little company. But you can't do anything for your AGI. It's your company and your real estate. Those two can do it. You have to understand what above the line accounting and below the line accounting is. How many of you know what above the line, below the line? Anybody?
Mm-mm.
These are accounting terms, but you need to know them. The line is the adjusted gross income line. It used to be the last line on page 1 of your 1040 form before Trumpy decided he was going to put 1040 on a postcard. He actually put it on about 12 postcards, but the line is still the adjusted gross income line. Anything that enters above the line either adds to or subtracts from your adjusted gross income. Anything below the line doesn't contribute or take away from your AGI. Ben talks about taxes from the dark side. Ben has agreed that if you become one of my students, he will review your last year's taxes for you. How many of you'd like a former special agent, special auditor of the IRS to review your taxes? It's going to be a big deal. He can look at them and he'll spend a half hour. And we're not doing your taxes. We don't want to do your taxes. But he's going to look at them and spend a half hour and go through and point out where you could maybe make more money. And it's going to be this concept of what happens above the line and below the line. AGI is important because it determines whether you can do your Roth IRA or not. And I know you can do the backdoor one. It determines what tax bracket you're in. And the accountants just said, no, Lee, that's not right. It's your net taxable income. Well, it's basically AGI. Whether you get your itemized deduction, your child care credit. Oh, alternative minimum tax, AMT. AMT was passed 1968. It was passed to make sure the rich paid their fair share. Well, the problem is they never indexed it for inflation. Do you understand that before Trump, if you made $80,000, you got kicked into the alternative minimum tax? You literally calculated, your accountant literally calculated your tax using a different formula to make sure that you paid more tax. Trump raised it to where you have to make about $400,000 to pay the alternative minimum tax. Now, December 31st, 2025, wham, it goes back to $80,000. That's a huge savings for you right there, guys. But the AMT, the alternative minimum tax, and your accountant never even bothered to tell you that you were paying AMT. He just calculated your tax. 199A. 199A says that you get 20% of your business profit tax-free. You figure out what your net business income is. You write yourself a check for 20% of it, and that comes to you tax-free. That's not bad, guys, but your accountant isn't figuring out how to maximize that for you. He's just plugging your numbers in the computer and taking it and kicking them back out. If you're making over $400,000 a year, you got big problems, but we can get you a lot more money. We took a contractor a couple of years ago. His accountant got him 0 in 199A. We restructured everything. I did it legally. Ben did it from an accounting standpoint. He took home an extra $73,000 that year. That's significant to me because we actually figured out how to get him the 199A. Now, if you've got real estate, you can still get 199A, but we have to couch it in specific ways and do some calculations for you to figure out how to maximize it. And your accountant isn't doing that for you, I'll guarantee you. Your financial planner, your accountant do, they all work below the line. Your charitable contributions, your medical expenses, all of that's below the line. No, you've got to work above the line, which means you have to use your real estate and your little business as a tax shelter. People who own little businesses, people who do real estate, they get rich, don't they? Yeah, I understand. You make more money in the little business. You make money with the real estate. It appreciates. The tenant pays the mortgage, all that crap. Understand that. What most people don't understand is if you actually maximize the tax laws, you can get rich a lot faster with your little business and your real estate. I've developed a set for you. Let me see if I can find it here. It's called the Advanced Tax Tactics. What we do is we go through and I teach you how to lower your adjusted gross income. Teach you 10, 15 ways. And I'm not talking about taking a business deduction. I'm talking about taking a dentist that has a $400,000 income and dropping him to under 150,000 AGI. That's the type of stuff we can do. So I go in and I teach you about it. It's a 100-page workbook plus 5 hours of audio instruction so that you can listen to me and Ben, and we teach you about each one of these things that you can do. This is a cutesy little one. I don't even know that it's in there. But look, you can write this down, okay? 280 AG. Your accountant's going to know all about it, but he's never told you about it. And he's going to say, oh, you can't abuse it. Well, I'm going to say you can't abuse it too. How do I use 280 AG? What it says is, if I rent a residence, place you can eat and sleep, for no more than 14 days a year, can't rent it 15, no more than 14 days a year, any rental income that I receive is tax-free. How do I do that? Well, I happen to have a condo on Siesta Key. I live on the good part of town. Tom lives in the bad part of town. So I had Tom and his wife over to dinner. And I charged Tom $1,000 to come to dinner. Now, you all know Tom, don't you? He's too damn cheap to pay me $1,000. Come to dinner. But I did charge $1,000 the day I had Tom come to dinner. I wrote out a bill and sent it to my company. And I charged my company $1,000. My company cut me a check for $1,000. That came to me. It's not 1099. It's not W-2'd. It's nothing. It's not reported. It's the payment of a bill from my company. If I'd had him to dinner at the Marriott in a boardroom, it would have cost me $1,000. So my company paid me to do that. Why? Because I know that if I sit down with for an evening with Tom and mostly Carolina, okay, then I can figure out a way to make more money because Tom thinks that way. And so my company paid me to entertain Tom, to have the opportunity to discuss things. Now, could you rent your house to your company to make your YouTube videos? Could you meet with your real estate agent at your house instead of the hotel, the Marriott, in the boardroom? Could you have your office party at the house instead of at the hotel? Think, how can I charge my house off to my company? I have to use it for a business purpose. But, okay, you only charge off 5,000 or 6,000. If I charge off 10,000 a year and I'm in a 30% tax bracket, that gives me $3,000 more to spend this year, doesn't it? 280 AG, it's black and white letter law, guys. You can't argue with it. So I said you had to have a little business. I'm going to go into this in detail on Saturday. But for right now, I'm just going to say your little business is going to be an LLC. End of discussion. I'm not justifying it or anything now. I'm just telling you. The problem is 90% of them fail to protect the owners of the LLC if the LLC ever gets sued. I'm going to show you on Saturday, you can spend 2 hours a year max and make sure that your LLC actually protects you when you get sued. How many of you'd spend 2 hours a year for me to make sure that your LLC actually protected you? The LLC is the most flexible tool we have for taxes. I'm going to explain all that to you on Saturday. I'm going to explain the difference between the legal LLC structure and the tax LLC structure. There's a big difference. Your LLC that you got from the internet dudes or from your accountant, they're written for the asset protection. And you're going, yeah, I want them to be written for the asset protection. Well, yeah, let's write your LLC for the asset protection plus the tax laws. It has to be written into the LLC so that you can play some of these tax games. They're not games, they're black and white letter law, but let's do it. I want to throw out to you on Saturday, I'm going to explain to you that I can take your LLC and I can give you twice as much asset protection as you can get from a corporation. 2 times as much. And the second half of the asset protection that you can get from the LLC is actually more important than anything you can get from a corporation. Your attorney has never told you that. Your attorney has never explained why you get twice as much asset protection out of an LLC as you do out of a corporation. Now, I am going to explain it to you. I'm going to give you a history lesson. I'm going to tell you why you get twice as much asset protection. And I'm going to tell you that if you are in Florida or Washington, I don't know where else, who we got here. Virginia doesn't matter. But I'm going to tell you that you need at least 2 people, 2 owners of the LLC in order to get this double asset protection. So you got to have the 2 members in order to get the asset protection. The LLC will give you the corporate shield, same corporate shield, identical corporate shield that you get from the corporation, but it gives you this whole other aspect of asset protection. Let me show you how this system works. I've got a system for you called the Accumulation Preservation of Wealth Set. I have 2 notebooks for you. This is the personal planning section. These are all of the, how do I get that so it shows up on the screen? These are all of the personal legal documents that I use in my law office. These are all of the business documents that I use in my law office. They're all in there. Now, you can, by the way, did you catch the name, the Accumulation Preservation of Wealth? How many of you'd like to accumulate and preserve wealth, huh? That's what we're doing. That's what these legal documents do for you. You go down to any big law firm in your city, I don't care where you live, and they're going to charge you somewhere between $2,000 and $10,000, and they're going to give you just one of the legal documents. These are all related to business. These are all related to personal stuff, wills and trusts and all that sort of stuff, durable powers of attorney. These are the LLCs, the corporations, all of that sort of stuff, the limited partnerships. Now, when the attorney gives you the $2,000, $10,000 document down at his office, I'm going to tell you it's going to look like that one. How do I know it's going to look like that one? Attorneys get together and we create what are called uniform acts. We have about 160 of them now. And the states get together and they adopt these uniform acts so that we're uniform state to state to state. I know what the legal document has to say. And so now there are little differences in the states. I'll give you that. For example, in Florida, if you're doing a living revocable trust out of the personal planning section here, I have to tell you that it has to have a provision in it which talks about the homestead. So I have to have a discussion with you. And I have 14 hours of audio instructions that go along with this set. It's all on a, comes in a little cute little package here. Come on, thing. It's all on a thumb drive for you. I have 14 hours of audio discussion where I sit you down and I teach you step by step how to set up each one of these documents and customize it for yourself. These are not form documents. These are the documents that I use. And I show you how my secretary and I would customize them for a client. Then I teach you how to use them to make the more money and protect the assets. Now, you don't have to listen to all 14 hours. Don't worry about that, okay? There's an index in the front of the personal planning section. And I've got all of the documents down here, everything you have to have for the index of these documents. Where did it go? Am I in the right? Yeah, I'm in the right one. But it's got all of the documents for you so that they're all timed out and you know exactly where they are. And you don't have to waste a lot of time looking for them. I mean, that'll save you a ton of time. Your time's important. My time's important. If you have more time, you can do whatever you want with it. What do you do with your time? I don't know. I'm a beach kind of guy. I love beaches. Christy and I, years ago, were in Hawaii. And this guy comes running across Kahio Street in traffic. And Christy and I are going, what's going on? Is this guy, am I getting mugged? He runs up to me and he says, you're Lee Phillips, aren't you? And I said, yeah. And he says, no. I listened to you speak 4 or 5 years ago. I got everything. I got all the materials. My wife and I, we were getting divorced. The basic problem was we didn't have enough money. I started to implement the tax stuff that you talked about, and we got more money. And people were suing me. They were nipping at my heels in my business. I started to implement the asset protection stuff, and they all went away. My wife and I were here in Hawaii. We never thought we'd be here. Christy and I, we were happy. He was happy. It was great because he had changed his life. He said, I changed my life by understanding the legal system and the things that you were talking about that you've taught me about. So listen to the audios, but you can go directly to where you want to listen and listen to that topic and then use the document. We have all the documents for a family limited partnership. I show you step by step. It's in the business planning section, how to set up the family limited partnership. There are probably 1 or 2 of you listening in here who are in a limited partnership. The limited partnership is a very powerful tool. There's the general partnership. By the way, don't be in a general partnership because each one of the partners is jointly and severably liable. The problem is 60% of you are in a general partnership. I know that. No lawyer's ever brought you in, set you down across the desk and said, okay, where's the general partnership? Let's find it. I go in and I teach you how to find your general partnership. No lawyer's ever giving you the definition. Let me give you the definition. For a general partnership, 2 or more individuals engage in common activity. What did I just describe? No, it's not marriage. There's a third part to it. 2 or more individuals engage in common activity with the intent to make money. How many of you got married to make money? No, never mind. Bad question of the seminar, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who are you doing a deal with where you might make money? That's a partnership. And when your kid is on the way to Home Depot to get the junk to do the rehab, he's in the accident. That's your fault because by law, your kid is your partner. Can you see it? So, limited partnership is very different than a general partnership because in a limited partnership, the limited partners are only liable to lose up to the amount that they invest in the deal. Here's the question. You're in a limited partnership. Has anybody ever been down to the recorder's office and seen on file down there what we call a certificate of limited partnership interest? It's just a little 1-2 page typewritten piece of paper. When you use the accumulation, preservation, well set, you're going to know what this piece of paper looks like. But this piece of paper's got to be on file. 6 or 7 other things that I talked to you about in the audios, they've all got to be done for you in order to qualify you as a limited partner. Boom, the deal blows up. We know you put your $10,000 in this deal. Your name's not on the list down there as a limited partner. What you got to be? A general partner. And at that point, you don't just lose your $10,000, you lose $250,000 because that's your share of this deal, not as a limited partner, but as a general partner. Now, here's the problem. Can you always trust the lawyers and the promoters and the CPA guys and all these guys to do everything they're supposed to do for you? Not likely, guys. The easiest profession in the world to lead you down the primrose path is the legal profession. We go to school for an extra 3 years to learn how to speak and write so you guys can understand us. So I teach you step by step how to set up the limited partnership and use it. Right now, you rent to the tenant. The tenant pays you the money. You take that money, you put it in your back pocket. On an April 15, you pay tax on all the rent you collected last year. With whatever's left over after you pay the tax, you can help out your family members. You can give your kids dance lessons, send them down to Orlando, Disney World. Mom and dad getting a little older, slip them money on the side, help them out. How many of you help family members, kids, parents financially? You help family members. That's cool. But you're all doing it right now with what's called an after-tax dollar. Before you pay Disney the dollar, you've already paid tax on it. If you could do all this with a dollar that wasn't taxed as much, or a dollar that wasn't taxed at all, would you get ahead financially a little bit faster? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's do it. Don't have the tenant pay the money to you anymore. Have the tenant pay the money up family limited partnership. Section 704E of the IRS code says that money comes up, down through the partnership to the child, the parent, whoever we want to support, and is taxed right there, not tax due anymore. This is called shifting income. I have 13 techniques in the accumulation preservation of wealth set to show you how to shift income. It's very easy. It doesn't even hurt your teeth to say shifting income. So you've got 4 kids, or 3 kids, grandparent, 4 kids. We're going to move $4,000 of this rent up and around the circle. Kid gets $4,000 this year in income. So we moved $4,000 to each one of the 4 kids. Kid gets $4,000 this year in income. What do they have paying income tax?
None.
Basically 0, right? So we move 4 times 4, $16,000 out of your wallet over into the family's pocket, basically tax-free. What did that give you extra to spend this year? How much? Well, I don't know, $5,000. You saved the tax on the $16,000. Did you work any harder to get that $5,000? Did you make any funny investments? No, we just moved your money differently through the legal system. Now, wait a minute. Your accountant has never told you about Section 704E, has he? Oh, don't give me that. He knows all about it. He studied this forward and backward. How come he's never told you? Because as soon as he tells you something, as soon as he counsels you, he becomes liable. He tells you to go down and do the limited partnership. Okay, fine. You go down, you pay the lawyer $5,000. He sets up the limited partnership for you. Next year, Congress changes its mind. Can Congress change its mind? Yeah, that's what we pay these guys for. Next year, they change their mind and they take away 704. I don't think they're going to do that. It's been around for 50 years, but we never know what they're going to do. Okay, they take away 704. You paid $5,000 for your limited partnership. Who are you going to be mad at? You're going to be mad at your accountant, not your lawyer, your accountant, because that's the guy that told you to do this. So he keeps his mouth shut. If he takes your numbers, plugs them in the computer, and spits out your taxes, there's 0 liability. Nothing. So he won't counsel you to do this. If you walk in and say, why don't we do this? He's going to look at you and say, wow, you're smarter than you look. That's a good idea. But he won't tell you about it. Okay, right now, you own your piece of property. You own it. You own it. Yours, husband, I name, joint tenants, I don't know how you own them, but you own your piece of property. Okay, we move the piece, use the accumulation preservation wealth set, move the piece of property up into the family limited partnership. Now, tell me who owns it. Family limited partnership owns it. You don't own it anymore. By law, you control it. You can sell it, buy it, burn it down, do whatever you want with it, but technically you don't own it. Wham, you're in an accident out on the freeway, they sue you. They take away everything you own. They just got your building. Use the accumulation preservation wealth set, move it into the family limited partnership. Family limited partnership now owns it. You don't own it anymore. Wham, you're in an accident on the street, they sue you. They didn't get your building this time. We put the legal shield, the barrier, all the way out and around that building, or protected it from the accident out on the street. And when dad dies, it's not in his estate. He didn't own the building. So he doesn't pay estate taxes on it. So we get the estate tax protection, the lawsuit protection, out $5,000, all out of a simple tool called a family limited partnership. How many of you could see where you might be able to use a family limited partnership as part of your structure, your foundation? I mean, this is critical, guys. You don't leave your house, leave all the doors unlocked, windows unlocked. You put security lights around your house. You do whatever you can to protect your house from some sort of a thief. And yet today you've got a better chance of losing property due to the legal system than you do the common thief. Using the accumulation preservation wealth set is like putting a deadbolt on your front door and protecting your assets from the legal, the financial system. I mean, this is critical, guys. We have something that I want to talk to you about. We'll talk about it more on Saturday. FinCEN is the little brother of the IRS. They're both in the Treasury Department. IRS, FinCEN, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. These guys do carry guns. And FinCEN has passed a law under the Biden administration that says, they say it's bipartisan. 270 Democrats voted for it and 25 Republicans. It says that you have to register your little company, your LLC, your corporation, your limited partnership. Anything that you filed with the state has to be registered by the end of the year. Anything that you set up this year, you've got 90 days to register it. If you don't register, it's $500 a day fine, plus $10,000, plus 2 years in jail. This is a big deal, guys. We're going to talk about it in detail on Saturday, but every one of you needs to know about it because this is critical. This is a big deal. Now, one of the things that you can do to lower your adjusted gross income is to invest, save money in retirement and benefit plans. This is a way to save money and get a benefit. Watch, let me introduce them to you for 2 seconds. I have a second set of materials for you entitled Benefit Plans, Retirement Savings Plans. This is almost 500 pages, single space, 10-point type. These are all of the plans that you need for an HSA, an HRA, a 125, a 401k, a SEP, a solo 401k. All of these documents are in here. You won't find them on the internet. The attorneys aren't going to give them to you. Well, they will give them to you, but they're way too expensive. I've got all of them here for you, and I've got 4 hours of audio CDs to teach you audio. They always used to be CDs, I'm sorry. Audio instructions. It's all in the cloud now. It's all on the thumb drive for you. But I've got 4 hours and I teach you how to use them. Let me introduce them to you for 2 seconds. HSA, Health Savings Account. Today, you can put $8,300 in it for a couple. And you use that money to pay for your health care expenses. You use it tax-free. You've made all your health expenses tax-free. You can't deduct your health expenses because you've got to meet 10% of 7.5% of adjusted gross income before you can deduct 1 dime. So if your AGI is $100,000, you got to spend $7,500, and then the $7,501 is deductible to you. No, this makes everything, your insurance, everything tax-free. I don't use it for two reasons. One, you're extremely limited as to what you can put in it. And two, the insurance company controls it. I don't like the insurance company controlling my money. I'm going to teach you how to use an HRA. So your little company, you can't do this. Your company does it. Your little company takes the piece of paper out of the set here and signs it. Now I have an HRA, health reimbursement arrangement. And so I put money, I go down to the bank, I make out an HSA checking account. I have my general checking account for my company over here. I take money out of the checking account, general checking, put it in the HRA checking. How much money? There's no limit. I can put 100,000. I usually put 25,000 in. You can put 3,000. I don't care. So you move money from general checking in the business over to HRA checking. The catch is you get a tax deduction for everything you put in the HRA plan. So you might note that's $25,000 that would have filtered down through my little company, ended up in my back pocket. I would have been paying tax on it. And does this come out above the line or below the line?
Above.
This is all above the line, guys. So I've dropped my AGI by $25,000. Now, what can you do with this? Well, you reimburse yourself for health-related expenses. I go to the doctor, I buy the prescriptions, whatever it is. I put the receipts in an envelope. Semi-annually, my secretary gets the envelope, adds up all the expenses, cuts myself a check out of this checking account, and that comes to me tax-free. It's not 1099, it's not W-2'd, it's nothing. If I get audited, I've got to have the receipts. So I've got the receipts, and I did get audited, and I could produce the receipts, so there was no problem. But I've now made all of my medical tax-free. That's a big deal, guys. That'll save you a ton of money. That includes the insurance, the doctor deductibles, the prescriptions, everything else. I can't really read the things. Does the HRA allow us to pay for self? I didn't read it. Anyway, I can reimburse myself for all health. In fact, I put the 25,000 in. Let's say I only use 7. That leaves, I should have used a good number. That leaves what, 18,000 in the account? This is not a use it or lose it deal. That 18,000 remains in that account. The next 10 years, I'm putting my 25,000 away every year. 10 years from now, I retire. There's $300,000 in that account. What can I do with it? Well, I reimburse is long-term care health related?
Yeah.
Or the law says this is a benefit plan. Can I have the money in this plan and invest it? And the answer is yes. I can invest it anywhere I want. It grows without a tax. Did you guys hear what I just said? That's pretty cool, guys. I can put large chunks of money into here. It stays in the account. I can invest it. I can reimburse myself at any time for health-related expenses, or I can even terminate the plan. When the plan terminates, I have to pay tax on it. But you've got to pay tax on your 401k plan when you get it back. So this is pretty cool, guys. You made at least an extra $5,000 this year because I saved the tax on the 25 or the 5 or whatever I put in it, and it came over here. I used it to pay for all my medical tax-free, and whatever was left I can save. The neat thing is, this is 100% asset protected. There isn't a judge in the United States that can take that checking account away from me. That's pretty cool, guys. I have actually used this to save people skinny when the EPA's coming after them. They bought a piece of gray land. What's gray land? It's polluted land. And you're responsible. I don't care who polluted it. You're responsible if you own that land. And the EPA's coming after you. There's nothing you can do except I can put hundreds of thousands of dollars into one of these plans and the EPA can't touch it. Nobody can touch it. That's how powerful this is. Now, how many of you are going to retire fat and sassy on Social Security? Don't laugh at me, man. 95% of the people out on the street are going to do exactly that. How many of you will commit to me you're not going to be one of the 95? You're going to have to do something. Look at a 401k plan. I've got all the documents in here, and I teach you step by step how to set up the 401k plan. I put my 24,000, whatever it is, away this year. I get a full tax deduction for it. I control it. I can invest it anywhere I want. And by the way, I wouldn't invest these things in my real estate. I would set up a company, and then I would use this money to invest in the company. Don't buy the real estate directly. But indirectly, you can buy the real estate, okay? But I can govern it myself. I don't even need a self-directed IRA. You can use one, that's fine, I don't care. But I teach you step by step in the audios how to do this for yourself. You have to file a 5,500 tax return and all of that sort of stuff. But you can do it, no problem. You've got to have the written. It's identical. It's what the law requires. You've got all the forms. You've got 4 hours of audio where I sit you down and teach you step by step how to use it. Now, let's talk about trusts for a minute. Lots of different types of trusts: revocable, charitable, offshore, remainder, land trust. Don't let that bother you. In fact, in the accumulation preservation of wealth set, I have 5 different types of trusts for you. Let me. I teach you step by step how to set up the children's trust. Then you all have a business. You have real estate. You have equipment that you have to have in order to make your money. I'm going to show you how to get the equipment into the trust. And by the way, when you move your piece of real estate into the limited partnership or the LLC or whatever it is into the trust, when you move the equipment into the trust, the first question you ask is, what's the tax? And I will guarantee you that most of you are moving your piece of real estate into your LLC like the guru told you how to, and you've triggered a tax because they've never said the first thing you have to worry about is how do you move that into the LLC without triggering a tax. They never told you that, did they? This is the second of the techniques. This is called the lease back. You're going to lease it back. You got to have an equipment lease. So I've got real estate leases and equipment leases and everything for you as part of the accumulation preservation of wealth set. There's your $5,000 again in tax savings. Let's see if you're catching on. Can you get sued in your business these days? Well, okay, we move the equipment out into the trust. You get sued, business gets sued. Can they get the equipment? No. Well, you go bankrupt, business goes bankrupt. Can they get the equipment? No. Okay, next week the equipment's still sitting there. What can you do with it? You back in business. The most they can do is take over the lease and start paying the rent. How to use it. These are cool, guys. Look, what did we just do? We just did something that no lawyers ever told you about. We protected the way you make your money. They don't do that. They talk about how to protect you from what happens in the business. We want the corporate shield to protect you. We just protected the way you make your money. How many of you like protect the way you make your money? I mean, this is critical, guys. I have a good friend. He happens to be my high school class president. This guy spends his life, he builds a beautiful business. His sons are now buying him out a little bit at a time. That's his retirement. They're running the business. Now, and his wife says, don't worry about the real estate. Just get a big insurance policy. Now, this would have been the same if she'd said, put it in an LLC or put it in a corporation or whatever. This would have been the same. This basically homeless couple come to him and say, we want to rent the guard shack. How many of you have been bit while you've been trying to do somebody a favor? I mean, the guy's doing him a favor. So his third-party management company writes up a lease. They sign the lease, they move in, they pay the rent. In the meantime, the city comes along and says, no, time out. Can't. Friend. His wife had structured his company years ago. They got his company. The boys lost their living. He lost his retirement. It's all gone. Now, wait, she was one of the best real estate or business structure lawyers in the city. She missed an important asset protection facet of business structure that the lawyers never pay any attention about. Now, the insurance should cover it. No, the insurance isn't covering it because the state has said this is a criminal activity. You didn't get her out. You're responsible for a death. So he's losing all of his real estate. He's lost his business. And I met with him after. The problem she just didn't do that. The trust you're all going to find first is something called a living revocable trust, AB trust, CB trust, family trust, loving trust. You do it for the people you love, and actually that's true. Basically, you're doing it for your family. What you're doing is you're avoiding probate. Let me overview probate with you for 2 seconds, and then we'll come down and talk about the trust. Is that okay? Probate. Let's say your dad or $25,000, it's going to take you on average 1.5 years to go through this process. Oh, you want to get into the CDs before the year and a half's up? Fine, go to court. Give me a special court order. Every time you go to court, who's faithfully standing by your side? Your lawyer. That's the way the guy's making these $25,000, $50,000, $100,000, whatever it is. This is called probate. How many of you'd like to avoid probate? Let me see your hands. The rest of you are idiots. I'll just tell you that. Probate's easy to avoid. All you have to do is know how to die. There are 5 ways you can die. The good news is I'm on a time schedule. Tom's got me on a short leash. I can't explain them all to you, and we can't practice. You don't practice. That's the problem. You have to learn to practice dying. Let's just say you die with a living revocable trust. That's going to avoid. Ran one a while back. It says another problem is finding an attorney with experience in living trust. ABS. Now, ABS is a lawyer that writes a lot about trust. ABS says that only what percent? 1% of American lawyers know how to draw them properly. That's not a good statistic, guys. I told you, my father-in-law got a good one. The problem is, when I looked at his trust in the early 80s, he'd spent his $8,500 on nothing. It would not have avoided probate. 95+% of these are never even funded. The lawyer doesn't teach you how to use it. You've already got a trust. And when you die, they get all of the probate. It's a double dip. It's a conflict of interest. I told you, 95% of them, they go through probate, just like everybody else does. You wasted your money. Only 4, 5, 6% of them are ever funded. That means they have to own stocks, cars, house, boats. Lady walks into me, sits at my desk April 15. That tell you anything? Her husband's died that year. She and her husband have been living in the rest home for years. There's no house. There's no cars. There's no nothing. All this lady has is $100,000 in treasury bonds. She and her husband spent their whole life saving these bonds. She's been to the local banker and lawyer. The local banker and lawyer got together and they said, "Oh, lady, you don't want to." This banker and lawyer, they were brilliant. They said, "Okay, lady, we're going to give you the trust. Now, the trust has to own the bonds. The way you get the trust to own the bonds is you sell the bonds and you buy them back in the name of the trust." What did they do? 50 years of interest clocks. There's no tax until you sell the bonds. She literally paid $32,000 in income tax, and there wasn't a thing I could do about it. The idiot banker and lawyer, they didn't know. All you do is take form out of the set here, request for issue United States savings bonds in the name of a trustee, and you send it into the Federal Reserve Bank. They change the name on the bond, no tax. So I go in. He was the first real estate guru back in the early 80s. Mark came to me in the mid 80s and said, Lee, I want to protect myself so that when something goes wrong in a business, I don't lose everything. So I set Mark up with a structure, and I'm going to cut to the quick. I'm just going to tell you, Mark has probably bankrupted 6 or 7 businesses. He's created dozens of them, but a lot of them have failed. That's Mark today, me and Mark a couple of years ago. And I'll just tell you, Mark is the largest landowner on the island of Kauai in Hawaii. He's been very, very successful. But when he started, he knew that things might fail, and he took the time to plan for it. You've got to take the time to plan for it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to start to build a basic foundation for you, and then we'll come back and put some bells and whistles on. Is that okay? There's what I call your first line of defense. 4 or 5 things each one of you needs. You need a will. Can you write your own will? Certainly. I've got a full will kit here for you. I teach you how to write your wills. Now, if you've already got a will, the will's going to have to be rewritten, because the will and the living revocable trust, they have to talk back and forth to each other. So you need the living revocable trust, and they talk to each other. But you can eliminate estate taxes. We haven't even talked about that. Some of you have estate tax issues. In Maryland, we got anybody from Maryland? Chase, you've got a 16% estate tax, plus you have an inheritance tax. You can lose over 30% easy of anything you inherit. So I have talked to you about those, but we can use the living trust, and we can eliminate those to a good degree. The trust avoids probate. How many of you own property in more than one state, or know that mom and dad own property in more than one state? Do you realize there's a probate in each state? Either that, or you bring it in under the living revocable trust. We just go right out and around probate, no problem. Great management tool. Whatever you write down in this piece of paper goes. You don't need a lawyer to write that for you. All you have to do is be able to write it so the next guy can understand it. Lady walks into me. She wants to leave $1 million to her cat. And I gulped real loud, and I slid down under the desk, and I went, meow, meow. You want to leave $1 million to your cat? That's fine. I don't care. You're one of my students. That means you're using the accumulation preservation wealth set. You get me on the phone, I'll give you the language for the $1 million cat. What we're going to do is we're going to make it so when you die, the cat gets the $1 million in trust. Then when the cat dies, somebody else gets the $1 million. The only problem is your cat's not going to live too long after you die. It's going to be, here, kitty, 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 kitty. But that's okay. We can handle this. And the neat thing about it is the trust is private. Nobody ever knows that you left your $1 million to your cat. I'm actually curious, how many of you are a lot more concerned about your privacy today than you were 10 years ago? It's a big deal. Christy, my wife, actually sat on the Attorney General's task force for a number of years. We prepared a set for you called Winning the Identity Theft War. I've actually got one of them here for you. You will not receive this. It's all in the cloud now, okay? But we have an hour of audio discussion, actually 90 minutes of audio discussion, and we have all of the forms, all of the letters to the banks, everything that you need. Because when your identity is taken, time is of the essence. It's a big deal. The problem is your identity's already gone. $100, any one of you. You give me your name, and I'll either take your birthday or your address, one of those 2 pieces of information. I'm going to be back in an hour. I'm going to have your social security number. I'm going to have your mother's maiden name. I'm going to have a big chunk of your banking information. Can we do this? Yes or no? Yeah, it's easy, guys. Your identity's already gone. How many of you would like to create a new identity? Oh, no, it's not what you think it is. Look, is an LLC or a trust an identity? Yeah. Here's your new identity. This is how to protect your new identity. When I go to the doctor's office, the guy's already got my social security number. but he ain't going to get the tax ID number for my LLC. Now that you understand what we're doing, how many of you would like to create a new identity and learn how to protect it? I'm sorry, guys, this is just the way we have to do it today. It's what we have to do. So winning the identity theft war is critical. And I'm not talking about the $8,000 they got off my credit card in Canada a few years back. I'm talking about family members having people declare bankruptcy on their Social Security number. I'm talking about people buying real estate on your credit. These are things that have happened to my family. So I understand what it is. So privacy is a big deal today. You're going to use the will and the living trust together. You're going to protect the identity. Oh, durable power. Haven't talked about it. What happens when somebody becomes incompetent? And you're all going to have an opportunity. Every one of you is going to be incompetent 90 days or longer prior to the time that you die. That's the statistic. Okay, I've got the durable power of attorney in here. You sign one, mom signs one, dad signs one, everybody signs one, sits over there in the filing cabinet, and you forget about it. Well, what this piece of paper says is, wham, under certain conditions, whoever they've named in the piece of paper, that person has the legal right, the power, the authority, stand in, take over, take charge, do whatever they have to on behalf of family member. What'd that just save your family? When a family member has an accident, gets sick, goes down, saved you time, money, and what else? I want to hear an answer. Time, money, and what else? Don't everybody speak at once.
Freedom.
Freedom? Yeah, I'll take freedom. Stress, people often say, somebody said hell the other day. I like that one. No. You don't understand unless you've been there. I mean, this is critical, guys. You need the durable power of attorney. Every one of you needs it. It's a big piece of form document. That's all it is. Now, in Florida, you have to have a special power of attorney, Tom. So I've got the special power of attorney for you. Florida is the only state that's changed. And it's gone weird. I'll admit that. Usually Florida's pretty straight, but this one's weird. So you sign the durable power of attorney. Every one of you needs one. Oh, living will. I haven't talked about that either. That's the directive to the medical profession. What do you do with me when I'm critically ill? Plug me in, unplug me, let me die? Are there only old people in rest homes, by the way? No. You go look, guys. These disasters, the death, divorce, taxes, lawsuit, the accident, the illness, they're going to come to every one of you. The question is, what have you done to prepare for them now? On at least 2 occasions in the middle of the night, I'm in the hospital dying of cancer. It isn't a matter of if I'm going to live or die. I'm dying. For 6 months, they wouldn't give me a week's life expectancy. On at least 2 occasions, they bring Christy to the hospital in the middle of the night. We're only 27 years old. We have 3 little children. They get her to the hospital. They don't bring her to my room. They take her to the administrator's office. And they sit her down and they say, okay, this is the situation. Do we give up and let him die, or do we keep going? You make the decision. Christy was alone when she made those decisions. We'd never talked about this. But by the way, I think she made the right decisions, okay? But since the Karen Quinlan case, Supreme Court of the United States says you got to have the written piece of paper. So I got the pieces of paper on the audios. I talk about it with you. You go home, you talk about it with your family, you decide what to do, and you write it down. This is your basic structure, your basic foundation right there. You don't have this legal structure, this foundation in place already. You didn't know about it. That's no excuse. You now know about it. And I understand it is expensive. These are national averages. You can expect to pay $1,000 for a will, $3,000 for the living revocable trust. You're going to pay LifeLock $200 a year to monitor. And by the way, this is not a monitoring system. This is how to avoid the problem system. The durable power of attorney, living with. Bottom line is you're going to spend about $5,000. You're going to spend that. Your mom and dad, they're going to spend it. Your brother and his wife are going to spend it. Goes all the way around the circle. I'm a copyright attorney. I know how to copyright things. The accumulation preservation of wealth set is copyrighted. But when you use it, I give you license. I give you permission to use it up and down within the family. Because I understand this isn't something that just you do. You do it, use the materials, do your trust. Then you do his mom and dad's trust. Then you do her mom and dad's trust. And the funny thing is, his mom and dad's trust looks about like her mom and dad's trust, looks about like your trust. Does the lawyer create a new document for everybody that walks in the door? No, it's basically what the law requires. There are places in it where you can change what you're doing. And I go through on the audios in the living trust, for example, I go through it one paragraph at a time for you. And I say, this paragraph is required by law. Leave that one alone. IRS requires that paragraph. Leave that one alone. This paragraph, you ain't changing it. Take it out. I don't care. These are the 4 or 5 ways that my clients often want to change that paragraph. So could you change the paragraph too? Yes or no? In fact, I have the different paragraphs all written for you. You can choose what you want to do. So I go through and I teach you step by step how to customize the documents for yourself. You're welcome to use it up and down within the family. Do any of you have a small business? Employees? You're welcome to use it with the employees. You can't do it for them, Miss Wild, but you can give it to them and they can do it themselves. Okay? You understand that? So I give you a license to do that as well. Here at the event, Tom's event this evening, all of the materials that we've talked about, the accumulation, preservation of wealth, this basic structure, it's $24.99 out on the internet. You're welcome to get it anytime. It's $19.99 here this evening. That's the basic foundation. Now let's come back and put some bells and whistles on top of it, okay? The limited liability company is the most flexible tool that you have. I'm going to spend a lot of time on Saturday in the limited liability company. Corporations, I've got the C and the S. I don't care if you do C, it doesn't matter to me. In fact, the problem is I go in and I teach you how to work with lawyers on the audios. And you ought to be able to work with any lawyer in your hometown, half-hour minimum for free, if you know the system. Well, if you understand the stock system, if you understand the real estate system, can you always do better than a guy who doesn't know what he's doing? For Pete's sakes, take advantage of the opportunity. I am giving you to use the legal system. This is the most powerful system we have in our nation today. I teach you how to go in and bargain with lawyers. Are lawyers' fees set? No. You can save thousands, tens of thousands of dollars during your lifetime if you understand how to bargain with the legal system. I go in and I teach you how to tell if the lawyer's lying to you. How do you know if the lawyer's lying to you? Well, his lips are moving, right? And by the way, I didn't tell you this, but I had a colonoscopy the other day. This is a little private, okay? You've had colonoscopies before? Clean out's horrible. So they put you to sleep and then they do the colonoscopy. I'm in the recovery room and I'm waking up from the anesthesia. And I wake up, I'm groggy. There are all these people around me looking at me. And it kind of freaks me out, actually. I can't figure out what's going on. Finally, it dawns on me. Do you know how rare it is to see an attorney that's not full of shit? Never mind, you'll get it in a minute. But at any rate, so I teach you how to go in and work with lawyers. Partnership agreements, we've got those. We got the family limited partnership. That's the one where we got the extra $5,000. We put the shield around your rental unit and we got it out of dad's estate. The children's trust, we got another $500. We protected the equipment in your business with that, and we got all that value out of your estate. I didn't talk to you about insurance. If you have life insurance, we're going to make it income tax free. We're going to make it estate tax free, and we're going to make it so nobody can sue you and get it away from you. Would you like to do that one? Lease agreements. You've already got your lease. You're doing real estate. I've got a very elaborate lease in here for you. I go through it on the audios. What you're going to do is listen to the discussion, and you're going to take a piece or two out of my lease agreement and put them in your lease agreement, because that's a good idea. So that's basically the way you're going to use the lease. You've already got your leases. Oh, independent contractor. Never hire a guy as an employee as if you can get him as an independent contractor. The problem is you're hiring the guy to come in and trim the palms. This is actually a case I had in Sarasota, Tom. Lady calls me up. It's about 11 o'clock in the morning. She's just dead panicked. I can hear it in her voice. What's happened is the sheriff showed up on the door that morning, sign here, $3 million lawsuit. What's happened is a year earlier, she's hired the guys to come trim the palms, and one of the guys fell out of the palm and is paralyzed. She's already been to the local lawyer that morning. Local lawyer says, no problem, lady, if you have a written contract with this guy that says he's an independent contractor, then that's his problem, not your problem. So I've got 4 or 5 different forms of independent contractors agreements for you. You read through, you pick out the one that best fits your situation, and you have the guy sign it. It might not be perfect, but I now have a written piece of paper, and it protects you. He pays the taxes, is in the accident, his problem, not your problem. Single estate documents, just as important that a single does this as a married. Transfer forms, these are the forms that let you get all of the assets into the trust. The lawyer's going to charge you an extra $750 or $1,000, and he's going to do it for you once. You've got to do it all through your life. Bottom line is, use any of the rest of the materials in the accumulation preservation of wealth set. You're looking at easy $16,000 in legal work. Actually, it's 16 plus the original 5. You have over $21,000 worth of materials in the accumulation preservation of wealth set, and I show you step by step how to set it up and how to use it to make more money, protect assets. These are the tools rich people use. You ever notice something about the rich? The rich just get richer. There's a reason for that. They use these legal tools and they leverage what they do in order to create wealth and then protect their assets. You can give your average lottery winner guy his $1 million. In 1 year, he's going to be broke. He doesn't have these legal tools. He doesn't know the rules to the game. You don't know the rules of the game. You don't have the tools. You can't play the game. I can give you the money. You'll be broke just like everybody else. And by the way, let me give you a little secret. If you understand how to use these legal tools, it's a lot easier to get the wealth in the first place, in addition to protecting it. Second set of materials that we talked about, benefit plan, retirement savings plans. You're going to use the HRA. You're going to use the 401k. That's like having the government hand you an extra $5,000 a year. How many of you'd like to have the government hand you an extra $5,000 this year? How about next year? How about next year? You understand, once these go into place, they operate over and over and over again. They're not one-shot rules. At the event here, this set, $699. Now, when you commit to use either one of the sets, I've got a couple of commitments I'll make to you. Have you learned something about asset protection? You can learn all you want. It ain't going to do you any good unless you do what? Unless you use it. When you use it, I've got a couple of commitments I'll make to you. First of all, I have a letter for each of you. I think I can find my letter. Well, for some of you anyway. Now, I understand you're going to be talking to your buddy down the street. You're a real estate guy. You're CPA. You have a question on this legal stuff. You call your local lawyer up and ask him the answer to the question. What's he going to do? He's going to charge you. I'm going to charge you too. Minimum $75 for the phone call. However, you call, you identify yourself in my office the way the letter tells you how to identify yourself. At that point, you are not my client. You're my student. And I'm more than happy to answer the question. There is no charge. How many of you like to be able to call, ask the legal questions, no charge? This is only related to these materials type thing, okay? I don't do your divorce. I don't know anything about divorce. But I will answer the question. By the way, if it's a tax question, we're going to send you over to the tax guys, okay? But we will answer the questions, no charge. I have had the same listed phone number for 35 years. But you've got to identify yourself in the office to the secretaries so that they'll let you through the gate, basically, okay? But it's important that you have this sounding board that you can work off of. This is a letter that I received a while ago from Yuma, Arizona. It says, last paragraph, Lee, your materials. That's the accumulation preservation of wealth set. Your materials have aided me innumerable times. Your base information give me knowledge to influence transactions and stand tall with the legal profession on many occasions. When you know what the law is, you don't have to go in and cower down and say, well, yes, sir, Mr. Lawyer, I guess that's the way it's going to be. You walk in and say, no, sir, Mr. Lawyer, it's going to be this way, this way, this way, this way. Well, how many of you like to control your lawyer? That's what we're talking about. And by the way, you did hear about the lawyer that had a farmer for a client. He needed a signature. So he goes out to the farm early in the morning. Sure enough, the farmer, he's out in the cow pasture. So the lawyer hops the fence in his three-piece suit and he's trucking across the cow pasture. And he steps in this big pile. I mean, it's warm. It's still steaming. He looks down at his leg up to his ankle in this big pile. And he says, oh my gosh, I'm melting. Oh, you guys are slow tonight. Never mind. Never mind. It ain't going to work. Anyway, my actions as a real estate broker and business consultant Mid-Atlantic. I don't care what you do. The law touches everything you do. Lee, without the information material, it would have been possible to accomplish what I've done. Without this basic structure, this foundation in place, it will be impossible for you to build a large financial fortune. You can't build a financial fortune from the roof down. You have to have this legal structure. I've seen it there in every wealthy person I've ever worked with. It's always there in some form, size, shape, color. By the way, everything is on the digital, on the thumb drive here for you. So you don't have to type anything. It's all on the thumb drive, the audio and all the documents, and you can customize the documents. We have different provisions for different things. I explain which one you want for which one so that you understand exactly how to get what you want out of these legal documents. Then you use them to make the more money and protect the assets. The advanced tax tactics we talked about, you can get it on the internet and here this evening at $7.99. Has 10, 12 ways that you can cut your taxes, cut your AGI substantially. We're talking tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars for each one of you, basically, if you have a little business or you're doing the real estate. Ben and I give you a boot camp. I talked to John earlier. I think it was John. Our boot camp, we do 4 or 5 times a year. We actually have one that is this Thursday and this Friday. I spend 2 days with you. And I sit you down and I just teach you for 2 days. I don't have any guest speakers. Ben is going to talk to us for 2 hours one day, an hour one day, and an hour the second day. He's going to give you taxes from the dark side. We're going to talk to you about how to do the asset protection, how to do the tax stuff, how to do the estate planning stuff. I even talk to you about offshore and how to use LLCs with your IRAs. So we cover a whole gamut. And by the way, would you like me to sum up offshore for you right now? Anybody? Nobody? Forget it. Chase doesn't even want it. He's
I'd be
shaking his head.
curious.
What?
I'd be curious. Sum up offshore.
Sum up offshore? No, and hell no. Any other questions? So anyway, in the mid-'80s, a guy comes to me and he's starting a business. It's a direct marketing business. He sends out letters and sells stuff. And he says, Lee, I want to make it so that if it doesn't work, my wife, my kids, we're protected. And I said, okay, we can do this. So I structured his business, and I structured it so his business was over here. His wife's business was over here. They had nothing to do with each other. She had nothing to do with his. He had nothing to do with hers. But I structured it so that every year we moved money from his business to her business. Over the next 5 years, this guy got it to $150 million a year. And we had moved tens of millions of dollars from his business over to her business. January 2nd, no, excuse me,
No,
August 2nd,
good girl, good girl. That's all.
1990. Do you know what happened? August 2nd, 1990. Miss Wild, you're unmuted. What happened? You will know where you were when I tell you what happened.
I
The
don't remember.
United States declared war. We had never declared war in our lifetime. The Gulf War. I was driving from Boston to Martha's Vineyard. I was actually doing work for this guy. And I listened to the war on the radio. We could watch the war on TV. CNN was covering it. Everybody, we'd never seen a war. And within 48 hours, 2 days, this man's business went from 600 miles an hour to wham, full dead stop. The United States was afraid. We were scared. We didn't buy anything. This guy's business was extremely leveraged. He'd borrow money to send out the letters and to do everything. He couldn't sell anything. His company went under. He owed everybody. He owed the post office $2 million. There were so many lawsuits. He owed so many people money that the attorney general in the state actually consolidated all of these cases, which is a little weird. I'll give you that. Now, they get into court, and the first thing that happens, my wife was actually in court. First thing that happens is the wife's attorney stands up and says, Your Honor, there's no allegation that the wife did anything wrong. We move the case be dismissed with prejudice. And so the judge looked at the attorney general's boys and said, well, guys, and the attorney general's team said, well, no, I guess the wife didn't do anything wrong. We don't have any allegations. Judge said, fine, case dismissed. The wife stood up and walked out of court with her attorney. Christie said there was an audible, there goes the money. The last time I saw this couple, they were in their mid-50s. The last time I saw them was in their penthouse on Conopoli Beach.
Yeah.
They never worked again. He had taken the time to protect his wife and his family before he even started his business. And it paid off, big time. It paid off. Here this evening, we have the Accumulation Preservation Wealth Set. All the forms, 14 hours of audio CDs, personal planning section, business planning section, $24.99 on the internet. Benefit plan, retirement savings plan, $9.99 on the internet. Winning the Identity Theft War. And by the way, Winning the Identity Theft War is a companion set to the Accumulation Preservation of Wealth set, because this is your new identity. Winning the Identity Theft War is how to protect the new identity. You're going to pay LifeLock $199 a year. Bottom line is the package this evening, over $3,600. Here this evening, we're going to make everything single package price available to you. Total package, $1,997. That's less than a couple of hours of my billable time and any one of the pieces of documentation in the Accumulation Preservation of Wealth set. I mean, this is critical. Roy Stein, one of my students, this guy's an architect, builds a beautiful school. And then the school teachers in the school district started to have a war. And the school teachers, they all call in sick. And the superintendent says, what's the matter with you? And they say, well, the air conditioning in the school, it's making us sick. EPA, health department, everybody goes in, nothing wrong with the air conditioning. Yet one night on the nightly news, they're interviewing the superintendent and he says, man, there's got to be something wrong with the air conditioning. I got a call that night after the nightly news. The architect's one of my students. Guess who's on the phone? No, it wasn't the architect. It was his wife. Am I going to lose my house? Am I going to lose all my savings? It was neat. At that point, I say, no, look, you've been a student for a long time. I know we've moved everything out and around behind this shield, protected it. They can't get to it. Go back to bed. When these disasters, death, divorce, slide, when you get sued, you don't sleep for 3 weeks. Unless you've done your homework in advance. And then you say, don't worry about it. You can't be like Dr. Davis. Dr. Davis, one of my friends, he was in a horrible accident. He was burnt very badly. He lived for 2 days after he was burnt. Whole 2-day period. Army lawyers in his hospital. We had to go in. We had to try to move everything out and around behind the shield, protect it. We didn't make it, by the way. Family lost a lot of money. Oh, don't get us wrong. We saved a lot of money too, but we didn't make it. Even more important than the money. Look at that scene. All these lawyers in the hospital room last 2 days. Who's supposed to be in the hospital room last 2 days? Not a bunch of lawyers. All together too often. I will literally spend the last 20 minutes with a man or a lady who's dying, trying to get them to sign a piece of paper. Because a piece of paper is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to their family. Either that or with the family out in the hall trying to get something put together. That's not the way it's supposed to be. When they walk in, stand alongside the x-ray table and say, oh, by the way, you've only got 2 to 3 weeks to live. I'll tell you, you never asked this question. Could I do another fixer-upper? You do ask yourself certain questions at that time. In fact, subconsciously, you ask yourselves these questions all the time. Ask yourself right now, do I have a will? Does it do what it's supposed to do for me? Do I have a living revocable trust? Going to avoid probate, eliminate estate taxes? Ask this, am I in a position where I have these tools? I can give my family another 5, 6, 10 grand this year. No more work, no more risk. Ask this, if I were to have an accident today on the way home, my business were out, my tenant were to sue me, is my family going to lose a lot of what I've worked my whole life to give them? These are the questions you ask yourself. Ask yourself 2 more. Can I afford to wait any longer to do this work? Can my family afford to have me wait any longer? And the answer is no. I really do want to work with each one of you. For the next 10 minutes after we get through here, I'm going to make the entire accumulation, preservation, and wealth set package, benefit plan, retirement savings plan, winning the identity theft war, available to each one of you, single total price, $19.99. Now, I've got a couple of bonuses that I'm going to give you also. Ben said he would do the tax review for you. He charges $500 for that. The advanced tax tactics, $7.99. You can pick it up anytime on the internet. I will invite you at no cost. It's a $14.99 cost if you sign up for the boot camp. We've had 2 cancellations in the last day, so we can get 2 more people in. I keep it under 20 people. And I want you to give me your view of you, your picture, and I want you to participate. I want you unmuted. This is an interactive 2 days that I'm going to spend with you. I'm going to give you a $500 certificate. You're welcome to it. I made a mistake. I told you I'd invite you for free. Usually I give you a $500 certificate, but Tom and I were talking about it. You're welcome to come for free. I do it 4 or 5 times a year. You can pick any time you want. The letter is available to each of you. You can call in and ask the questions. However, the letter and these bonuses are only available for the next 10 minutes after we get through speaking. You've got over $2,000 in bonuses, plus $3,000 in materials. So you've got the whole set, $6,000 worth of materials, entire package price, everything tonight. You're going to get it by going to Traction, reia.com/Lee. There's a page there for you. You just fill out your name, address. We will ship everything to you. It comes in physical form. Total package price, $19.97. Now, we're also going to teach you how to make it tax deductible. How many of you have a little business? How about real estate? How many of you doing real estate? We can easily get it as a tax deduction for real estate or the little business. And if you deduct it from your taxes, You're in a 30% tax bracket between federal and state. That's what, $500? So basically your out of pocket is $14.99. Everything's available to you now. Go to Traction, REIA, Real Estate Investment Association.com/Lee. And I'm happy to hang around for a minute. The materials are only available, the bonuses are only available for the next 10 minutes. So pick them up immediately, but I'll answer questions for you for 2 or 3 minutes if you want.
Cool. Thanks, Lee. Very detailed. I love it. Gang, that link, if you want it clickable, it's in the chat. Also, the link for Lee's Saturday class is in the chat, so grab that there. And Lee, there were some questions that came through on the chat as we went. Do you want me to?
I can't. One, I'm a slow reader.
Yeah, that's fine. I could read them. I could read some to you.
And two, I just can't read them, and it interrupts. I
got you. No,
I got to keep going. I went a little long. I'm sorry, guys, but I hope you did okay.
We did. Yeah, I know. I'm looking at the clock, so we'll hold those until later. If you have, look, there'll be more time for questions and more time to learn on Saturday. I would get signed up for Saturday now. I would take advantage of Lee's special offer on this course as well. So here's what we could do, Lee. I'm going to leave the Zoom open so I can clear out, and Carolina will clear out the chat on anything that was for us. You are welcome to go. We'll end it officially, and then I'll leave the chat open also, so those links are there for you for signing up for Saturday. I'll do that now and jump onto Lee's program as well. Jump on that now.
Okay, pick up the materials now, and you get all of the bonuses.
Yep, totally awesome. But that's actually good. I appreciate you, taking care of that, considering that wasn't what
you're a longtime friend, and I've given your group a deal that most people don't get.
I gotcha. Now, guys, it's special. So hit that link now, and we'll get you locked in and be in good shape. All right. So chat will be open. That deal stands for another 10 minutes. That'll take us to about 12 minutes past the hour, whichever hour you're in your time zone. It's 10 minutes from now. So Lee Phillips, anything else you want to add?
Nope, don't think so. Thanks everybody for having me, putting up with me.
Awesome.
I am going to point out we didn't start till about 10 after, so.
Oh, that is true too, because we talked with people, so it's all good.
So we talked for a minute. But
awesome, you get a lot of thank yous. Lisa's saying thanks. Chase is saying thank you.
Thanks for hanging with me. Appreciate
no problem.
You.
Glad to be there.
We'll see you on Saturday.
See you Saturday.
We'll go into things in a lot more depth and detail. Those of you who already have the materials, by the way, those of you who already have the materials, I'm going to give you a bonus on Saturday. The rest of the guys won't get.
Ooh la la. We like a good bonus. Totally awesome. All right, Lee, thanks. So
okay, we will catch you later.
We'll talk to you soon. We'll see you on Saturday. Thanks,
so I'm going to bow out, right?
That's perfect. You're in good shape.
Thank you.
Thanks
All
again.
I have to do is figure out how to get out of here now. They're smarter than I am.
I think you say actually now says end. End should do it. You're in good shape.
End will do it, huh?
End will do it.
Thank you.
He makes it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. Is that Miss Wild that says that?
Yep.
Hey Tom, it's Carolina. I have some people sending me messages directly about the system on payment. So yeah, if this is what you want and you want to pay with 2 cards, 3 cards, whatever, if this is what you want, I will make it happen. So just send me a quick message directly or just email me and we'll make it work.
Her email is Carolina, spelled like Carolina. It's Carolina@tractionria.com.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lee.